What's up, everybody? Oh my goodness. I am super amped up today. I'm very excited. Um, I don't know, just had a fantastic call for some stuff. I don't want to get into it on stream, but I'm just feeling the vibes today. I don't know. Did y'all catch the super exciting news with Laravel and their Series A funding? I mean, massive congrats to Taylor and team. It's well deserved. They're already doing such amazing things with it, like the VS Code extension, Laravel Cloud, which I just can't wait for. That was some exciting news. I loved the Q&A. I feel like I owe my entire career and where I'm at to this point to Taylor, Laravel, and really the Laravel community, especially when I came out and said that I'd gotten laid off. I get a little choked up about it, but the Laravel community really showed up for me, and I really can't thank everybody enough. But yeah, on that note, I'll kick off talking a little bit about PHP Architect, and I wanted to just start the stream by giving them a huge thanks for being my first GitHub sponsor. It means the world to me and my family, especially with everything going on right now. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, so for the stream today, yesterday, we left off, we got basic chat support squared away for Anthropic. I think there's a couple things that I'd like to tackle today. There's some options with Anthropic. We can either dive into function calling with regular chat. We can implement streaming chat for Anthropic, which is definitely a little bit more complicated. So I'm not sure what route we're going to take. But what I'd like to do is start off with something we were tinkering with at the beginning of the stream yesterday, trying to get, you know what, we can just dive in and we can talk about it from there. Let's get some code up going. All right, cool. So one of the things that we've been tinkering with, I'll dive through and we can review some of the code, kind of talk about what we've got going on here. If we take a look at, so this Laravel app is like a Laravel app that I utilize on a day-to-day basis to talk to my various agents using Sparkle Server and Open Web UI. One of the things that we were working on is we built a search tool for our agent to use. You'll see that I've got defined here Nova, which is a base prompt that I've customized from a prompt provided by Collaborative Dynamics. And what I've done is I've exposed this search tool to that agent so it's something that it can use. The search tool is pretty straightforward. We use the SERP API and we pass the query that the agent wants to use. So like the LLM will say, hey, your request based on your chat message looks like I should use the search tool, and it's going to choose to use the search tool, and it gives us the query that we're going to search for. We go through the results. We take the top 4 results, and we're going to pass like the title, the link, and a snippet that comes along with the link when you see like a Google search, like the little snippet underneath the link. We're going to pass that along for the ride. And then what we're doing is we're just serializing that array, like this like collection of arrays to JSON, which, you know, like LLMs can deal with JSON pretty well, but I think we can improve this to get a little bit better results. So yesterday we were tinkering around with the prompts, like adding a line at the end that said, if you use a tool, tell me what tool you use. I think, and that was like not super effective because it was like pulling things out of its prompt and telling us it was tools when it really wasn't. So that's part of just like prompting and prompt engineering. So I think I have another way to accomplish some piece of this in a little bit different way. So we'll dive in, we'll talk about it. Let me get my tea situated. Got to caffeinate a bit, get through the afternoon hump. Oh boy. All right, cool. So what we're going to do is let's make a view. I was playing around with this already a little bit before stream. So we're just going to steal that. We're going to create a view inside of our prompts directory, search tool results. All right. So one thing about LLMs, they work fine with JSON. I feel like they work better with XML. So what we can do here, let's put it together a split. Make it a little bit smaller. Hopefully it's still readable on stream. So let's just say we have links, and inside of here, so we've got a for each loop. Let's go over to our code. We'll just return a view with prompts dot, and we are going to pass in the results. All right, so now we know that we have our results, and so for each result, we're going to include a link. You know what? Before we do this, let's we'll drive out the view, and then we'll circle back, and I want to show y'all like a before and after of like when we use this, kind of what we see. We'll do it like step by step so we can like check it out. All right, so each link, we're gonna have a title. If I could only type. And we're going to have, let's just call this one URL instead of link, because that might get a little confusing. And we're going to add the snippet. All right. Let's see, I will bring this over. Yeah, we're gonna start a new chat. All right, so let's try to get here. I'll show you kind of like with the tool, without the tool. I have another agent registered with GPT-4o instead of just GPT-4. And let's just ask it what the latest version of Laravel is. Open Web UI is an amazing tool, an amazing front end to large language models. All right, so we'll see here we have both responses from both agents. This is exactly what I expected. The GPT-4o, the non-tool enabled engine, responded a little quicker, but it got the answer wrong because the knowledge cutoff of the LLM stops at a certain date. I can't remember what the cutoff is for 4o, but it's only aware of Laravel 10, whereas the search-related tool, the search-enabled agent, was able to tell us correctly that it's an 11.22. And we'll see a little bit of personality with some of the emojis in here. And that's built into the base prompt for a couple reasons. Having it end with a certain set of emojis lets us know that the base prompt is still inside of the context window, and also that there hasn't been any prompt pollution, and that like everything is kind of working correctly with the base prompt. So that's why there's like some personalized emojis at the end. Plus, it kind of gives me like a fun little like snarky attitude, especially when it comes back with the eye roll. I don't know, I enjoy it. All right, so we'll see that we like have those results. We did use the search tool, and we know that we use the search tool because it gave us the correct result. Sorry, my window management's a little sloppy. All right, so now what we want to do is make sure we get those same results now using this view. And we can actually, if we want to take a look, we can actually use the search tool. Oh, well, we're going to get an error, so I guess good thing for us. Let's reload Tinker. Probably going to get another error. Yep, and that's because we got to load the SERP API secret. Cool. So now we see that we are like returning in the format that we wanted. We've got our links element, link, title, URL, snippet, another link with a snippet, another link with a snippet, another couple links with snippets. So that's looking the way we want it to. And let's go back to this. We can actually drop off that. We will drop off the 4.0. We'll just interface with our GPT-4 model. Let's see what we get back. We should get the same results back. We did. Fantastic. Now I want to add in a little extra sauce to this to see if we can get, it's nice that it uses the tool, but part of wanting to make sure that the LLM is like actually not hallucinating and giving us real results. I think adding this little bit in will be really nice. Let's add a task for the LLM. Let's see, how do we want to word this? All right, now let's go back and take a look. We'll just refresh the response. So it did. I wonder if see, it didn't cite our sources then. Be a little bit more specific about what we're looking for. See if that kind of helps guide the LLM. Cool. I guess this is, I mean, I did ask for it as a markdown list, and that's not what we got. Um, let's see if this gets us a little bit better. You know, we're getting some sites. I don't like that it's not doing it as a markdown list though. Hey, that's not too bad. Released just yesterday. I don't know if that's accurate, but two days ago. So let's see what we get as another result, and then we'll move on. This is exactly what we were looking for. Let's see if this gives us the consistency we're after. Let's try Rails. I actually don't know the answer to this, so how do we keep losing full screen? Jeez. Hey. That's pretty cool. So you see how we were able to get to that consistency by giving it an example of what we're actually looking for. So we were able to tell it to cite sources as a markdown list at the end of your response. I bet now we can get rid of bet we can get rid of that now. Let's try one more. And then I promise we'll move on. We'll move on to some Anthropic stuff. Oh, sick. Now we're consistently getting the sources at the end of the search. And if we do something that doesn't require search, right? Like this shouldn't require search at all. So it's not going to cite any sources because it was specifically as part of the prompt for the other tool we were running into is when we just added it to the end of the Nova prompt, it was always trying to cite some sort of source, even when there wasn't a tool being used. And so now that's only being included when it uses the search tool to then like further cite their sources. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like we can move on. Now we've got a way to kind of like verify those results. So I try not to ever just like blindly trust the LLM. I'm definitely applying my brain on top of it. And I think that's something that's like really important is you can't just like blindly trust these results. And so now if I think that something's like a little bit hanky, like I genuinely don't know what the current version of Rails was going to be. And so being able to like have that source available to just hop through real quick and verify, I think is super important. Especially when you're getting into RAG, when you're dealing with like retrieval augmented generation. Like if you're trying to do like chat the Laravel docs, I really want it to be able to like come back with all of the sources that it used so that I can go back and verify it or just jump through and see further documentation and explore and discover on my own. All right, so that was cool. I'm definitely leaving that in there. One of the other changes I don't know if we made on stream yesterday is I did limit this down a little bit on the result set because this can have a lot more results and I want to be mindful of the context window, which is like the max amount of content that you can put inside of the conversation with the LLM. All right, so let's go take a look and decide what we're going to do with Sparkle here. So yesterday, what we did is we drove out the Anthropic provider. And the reason why this is a provider is if we go and look at the what I decided to do, if we look at let's go look at the app service provider of like how we define an agent, right? We have like right here, we define the agent and we're just saying as like a magic string, the provider's OpenAI. We pass the model GPT-4, we give it some options, we define any tools and we give it its base prompt. So like how we get that provider when we just specify like OpenAI right there is we're using the manager class and manager pattern straight out of the Laravel framework, replicating the exact system, like the exact same system that Laravel uses for cache and cache drivers. So we're extending the Illuminate support manager class. We're telling it the default driver for now is OpenAI. Once we get Anthropic dialed in, I'll probably change the default to Anthropic. Even though I think most people use OpenAI, I'm preferential to Anthropic and the Claude series of models, and this is an opinionated package, so I'll probably default it to that, and you can always override that. And then if you look at the config, you'll see that we kind of like map through the providers. So for OpenAI, here's our API key. Anthropic, we pass a few more things. And for the OpenAI provider, I'll also probably expand this to allow you to pass a URL so that you can use any OpenAI compliant. You can use like any OpenAI like compatible URL with this. So I actually might change the manager pattern up a little bit to be a little bit more like the session driver, where you can not only define your provider, but you can also define like what driver. So if you wanted to define like something like this, you wanted to define Grok, you could like say, hey, this is like your open, it's going to use the OpenAI provider. So I think without even having to like redefine a driver or anything, you can just define like a new provider using OpenAI right from your config. And you'll see, like, out of the box, we can add right to our manager class the providers that we are going to support as first party, which we'll definitely expand on. For an initial release of like what I push to GitHub, we're going to have OpenAI and Anthropic, and then I want to fast follow with Olama. The reason why I'm holding off until I have OpenAI and Anthropic is really due to Anthropic's function calling just being different. And I want to make sure that I get the abstraction right, because when I release to GitHub, I really want as little API churn as possible so that, you know, I'm not constantly breaking what people are building and experimenting with, because that just like feels like a nightmare. So actually what we could do here is to just enable our streaming in, we'll just kind of fake it. Cool. All right, so now we got to decide what we want to do. We have two options. We could work on streaming chat, or we could work on regular chat but function calling. I really don't know which one I want to do. You know, let's do function calling for regular chat. Instead of streaming, because streaming's definitely... Hey, welcome to the stream. Let's grab a browser. We'll look at some docs. All right, so I was already kind of like looking at streaming chat. Tool use. Yeah, let's mess with tool use. I think we can. I think we can leverage some of our work with OpenAI's function calling and just kind of start reworking it. Whereas I think doing the chat, like the streaming chat, might be a little bit more bespoke, because for OpenAI, as of right now, we're using the fantastic OpenAI PHP library put together by like Nuno, Maduro, and team. I'll probably end up rolling my own HTTP client for OpenAI in the future, just because we're not utilizing even a fraction of the OpenAI package. And at some point, I'm just going to probably want a little bit more control over things. But to get up and running, this like worked pretty well for me. So we have two helper methods in our OpenAI class that help us manage. We can probably just steal some of this for now. All right, so we're gonna want formatted tools. We're just gonna copy and paste some stuff for now. Import our tool class. Let's see. Let's import the function. No. Cool. Get that imported. Tool call messages. All right. So we are taking our messages. We are taking our tool calls. Let's go take a look at build request. I think we got to make an update here. We will have to make an update there. All right, so let's take a look at how we define this. So it is an array of tools. I believe that's where we slot that in. Yep, formatted tools goes right inside of build request. All right, so let's take a look at how we need to format these. All right, I'm going to shrink again a little bit. All right, so formatted tools. We don't have the, we just start working on this array. So we have name, tell it's got a type object. We've got see what's required nested under same level as properties. I think think properties just becomes formatted tool fields, because if we look down here, we have key by the tool name or the parameter name, which be location, which is perfect. We have a type, we have a description. A required field goes after our properties. Handle tool calls. This is where things are going to be different. No, we don't want to save that. All right, so let's go look at our Anthropic test. We should have one that can send streaming chat requests, send chat requests with tools. Let's put that one under chat. So I think we can grab for OpenAI test. I think we can grab these. All right, so we have some messages, we have our tools, and then let's grab our LLM. Did that not autocomplete? Interesting. Well, we'll find out where that error is here in a minute. All right, so we pass in our tools. Pass in our messages. Okay, so it was trying to handle the tool calls. Let's take a look at let's see what we're getting. Nope, we are having trouble formatting tools. That's fine. Oh, I see what I did. We already had an array. I want to do is see what our tool calls look like. Nope, I know what we're going to run into right off the bat. We have this prevents stray requests. I'm going to pull that out of our before for now. Just put that in this test. Let's see what our response is. Awesome. So we are correctly registering the tools, because when we see from our response that we're getting back from Anthropic is that we have we're getting a message ID, we're getting the initial message from Anthropic saying, yeah, certainly I can help you get the current weather conditions for Detroit using the weather tool, because that's the message we put in. Let me fetch that information for you right away. And then it's giving us all of that information right back, which is fantastic. We're going to rerun that test and get this result back, because what I want to do is we're going to add that to a scratch. All right. So we are going to have our stop, reason is going to be tool use. This is a little tricky. We're actually getting two messages back. We're getting the initial message in the content array telling us what it's going to use. And then it's also giving us our tool use. So we are actually going to need to tweak this a little bit. I can't remember how to resize my windows with my keys, so we're going to use a mouse. I know, bad form, Vim user. Too bad. All right. You don't need the tool calls either, because what we're going to have to do is, if we have a stop reason of tool, we're going to have to make sure this has got, oops. Let's make sure that we're in our conditional and then we get the collection. Cool. That's what we're getting back. And so we're going to say, you know what, let's just, instead of a collection, let's just, we can get fancy with a collection later. So if we have a, whoa, if I could only type. So if we have a text message, we're going to push to our messages array. And where we're getting the messages array from is on our like base provider that we're using inside of the framework. We have a class variable for all of our messages that we're currently working with inside of our agent. So we want to push that to our messages so that we have that as part of our, like, all of our messages and context, so that the LLM knows that it already told us it's going to do this. Because I've made this mistake before of not pushing to the messages array, and you'll see down here that I'm like doing some array merges instead. But pushing to the, like, I forgot to push to the messages array, and so I was getting these like double responses back. So like we'd see in Open Web UI, like, hey, the weather for Detroit is this, let me use the search tool to find out what time the game is. It would be the other way around. It'd be like, hey, the Detroit Tigers game is at 3:00. Let me look up the weather. Then it would look up the weather and come back and say the Detroit Tigers game is at 3:00. Here's the weather. And I'm like, why is it double? Like, why does it keep repeating itself? Well, it's because I forgot to push that to message history. So it didn't know that it had already responded what time the game was. So it was just kind of making sure that it responded with everything that it needed to. So anyhow, we've got to like push this message to the message array. And this will be, an assistant message, and it'll be, all right, now we can handle our tool calls. So let's take a look at what, oh, I think that was just making sure that, you know, I know Anthropic's API gets finicky about message order and like what order and how many messages can follow each other. So like I couldn't have two assistant messages one after another. Like it'll yell at me that there has to be like a user or something in between, but this is going to be a tool use message. So I think we'll be okay. I don't know. I don't know if I have the patience to page through all that documentation, so we'll just kind of see how this goes. So we have tool use. I actually don't know. Actually, we do need to look at this. Hey, well, welcome to the stream, Leonardo. Nope. Hey, from Argentina. That's fantastic. No, we've got viewers from all over the place. You might be the only one in YouTube chat, but we're broadcasting to both Twitch, X, and as well as PHP Architects like channels as well. So we're spread out all over the place at the moment. All right, so when you receive a tool response, run the actual tool in your code base, passing the tool input with the role of user and the content block containing the tool result. So we need to continue the conversation, sending a new message with the role of user. All right, so it looks like we need to So we need to use the tool use ID, the type, the content. All right, so like I said, they're like really particular about like what order and type of messages, a little bit more particular than OpenAI is. So we'll do a user message, and I think this needs to be, JSON coded. Let's find out. Let's just fake this for now. We know that in our test, we're asking a question about the weather. So let's just fake this out and say, we'll just grab this. Oops. Like I keep saying, if I could only type. And then we need to call. We need to send the chat with the new updated messages. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that worked. I can't believe that worked. I'm so freaking tickled right now. I cannot believe that worked. We're definitely just like I said, I didn't have the patience to really like page through the docs, so we just kind of YOLO'd that, and I'm shocked. Cool. For a second there, I was wondering if because I didn't have the patience to go through the docs, I was really wondering if we were actually going to get anywhere with this today. Because I've not so whereas in Sparkle v2, I've already implemented the streaming chat for Anthropic. So I figured that wouldn't be too hard to implement, but I never got around in the v2 API of implementing function calling. So definitely flying a bit blind on this one. Very excited that that's working. So I think we can do away with those. Checking PHP stan here. So let's see, what are we not using anymore? What did I just delete? We're not using tool call messages. We're not using handle tool calls. So let's just do this one at a time. All right, handle tool calls. We still need to do this because we just faked that response. So we actually have to call the tools. Oops. Oops. Let's see. We were doing this a little different. So not for today. All right. So, not for today, but for probably tomorrow, what we need to do is like figure out how Anthropic's going to handle the situation. So if we define, like, this is like my go-to use case. I'm not really a sports ball fan. Um, but I had added into my PHP Tech talk some baseball references because the speaker dinner we were talking to Grumpy Programmer, and he had mentioned being a big baseball fan, and I needed some examples, so I went with a Tigers example. So my like go-to use case for testing a lot of this stuff, and you'll see it scattered throughout the tests for Sparkle, are defining a search tool and a weather tool, then asking it, hey, what time is the Tigers game today? And like, will I need a coat? And so then it should use the search tool to look up the time of the Tigers game, and then look up the weather tool and like find out the weather, and then give us a compiled response. And somewhere along the line telling us that it's going to be like, for our mocked stuff, it's going to be 75 and sunny, so you probably don't need a coat. So I got to figure out how this is going to use that as a use case. Oh, Chris asked in chat, elevator pitch for Sparkle. You looked around at the YouTube videos, didn't really see an explanation or anything really show up on Google. So Sparkle is an agent-based, like kind of like an agent-focused package for interacting with LLMs. And for me, an agent, like the way I define it, is it's kind of like an LLM that has a prompt and you give it a task. So in a chat context, you probably have a few tasks depending on your task, but depending on like the conversation that you're having with it. But from a there's like, I think kind of like two use cases that I like to look at. So you have like the chat use case, which we're kind of talking about here, in that I kind of focus on with the Sparkle server piece of this project, being able to attach your agents to a chat and then maybe attach a few tools to them. And then as you're having the conversation with them, the agent will choose whether to use the tools or not, or you can eventually you'll be able to define a way that it'll say, hey, you have to use this tool, or so like in the chat context, that's how that works. And we saw that a little bit earlier in the stream, when I was like messing around with the prompting for our search tool and the agent in chat, asking about, what's the latest version of Laravel, and that being able to use the SERP API to go out and find that information. We provide that information back to the agent, and then the agent can like complete its response. But another use case that I like to talk about is I build I kind of have a pipeline built in a different tool set, but I would really like to rebuild it with Sparkle. Is that I will, like after a meeting, I'll record the audio for like a stand-up meeting at work, right? And so I'll take that stand-up meeting like audio and I will send it off to this pipeline. And what it'll do is there'll be one agent that takes a look at that audio file and then uses OpenAI's Whisper project, like the Whisper API, to then transcode that audio into text. Then it passes it along to the next agent in the pipeline. And that agent's task is to take that transcript and turn it into a bullet note. And then that takes that bullet note, and the next agent in the pipeline, that agent's specific task is to take that bullet note and extract any action items, and then like format those in a separate list, and then pass the bullet note to the last agent, and that last agent is going to extract any action items and then add that to the note. So then at the end of this pipeline of these like different agents working together, we end up with a, like from our transcript from the audio file, a bullet note with a section for action items and a section for decisions. I can't remember if I called that out, but I do like action items, decisions, and then like the rest of the content in the bullet note. So we can kind of assemble a few agents together, coordinate them in a pipeline, and then, like build tools powered by LLMs. So that's kind of the like longish elevator pitch for Sparkle, but really it's like a foundational set of tools for you to be able to build all sorts of like LLM powered projects and tool sets, really whatever you want. And one of my goals is to be able to provide a bunch of like prefab tools. So like a SERP like a SERP API search tool. Like if I can provide that for you out of the box, so you can get up and running with it, I'd love to be able to do that. Or if you needed to build one on your own, you could build that too. So let's I've got probably like 10 more minutes, so I don't know how much further we're gonna get. But let's see if we can handle tool calls. So instead of an array, of tool calls, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get through really even be able to handle tool calls through the rest of the stream. So, we'll probably wrap up like 10 minutes early. Hey, John. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, sounds powerful. Easy way to build out agents or provide built-in agents. Yeah, that's the goal. This is like definitely going to be like that foundational tool to allow like a lot of people to build stuff. So we're not going to be able to finish this tool calling today. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Whoops. I went ahead and launched something else by accident. Yeah, so taking a look at we can take a look at Sparkle Server and kind of like we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the stream, but Sparkle Server is a piece of the project where it makes it really easy for you to attach any agents that you define to an open API, like an open AI. Sorry, I work a lot with APIs also, so I often will say open API instead of open AI. So it's a way to attach your agents to an open AI compatible endpoint for you to then be able to chat with it with like a lot of like open source and other common, open AI compatible chat tools. So here we have a 2 agents that I use on like a day-to-day basis. This one, the GPT-4 powered one, in a stream a couple days ago, we like put together a SERP API powered search tool. So, we define the tool, we define our agent, we attach it to Sparkle Server. And if we go take a look at this tool, it's really pretty simple. We can definitely get a lot more detailed in this later, but we use the SERP API to like the LLM will then use this tool, pass us a query. We pass that along to SERP API. We kind of do some formatting on the results. We pass it to a view, and then we render that view so we can use like blade powered views in here. And now with the agent available, if we look at like the difference in these two. So remember, we have the GPT-4, it has the search tool attached to it. This GPT-4o agent does not have search attached to it. And if we ask it, what's the latest version of Laravel, one of them will get it right and the other one will not get it right. So the GPT-4o is, you see we got a faster response back, but it definitely has the wrong result because it's just using its internal knowledge. And that's got a cutoff date of when it was trained. Now, the GPT-4 agent that is powered by search has the correct result. And one of the changes we made today was so that it would reply with sources so that we can go double check its work if we need to, or if something smells a little fishy, we can dive a little deeper. So that kind of gives us the ability to really empower our agents with like all sorts of like extra and additional functionality. So yeah, we've got some cool stuff we're cooking up here. So yeah, tomorrow we'll pick up where we left off. Working on calling for Anthropic. Yeah, I'm like pretty excited about it. We got a lot further today than honestly, we got a lot further today than I expected. I'm so tickled that kind of that first shot, the first set of messages we sent actually worked, and we got like a function response back from Anthropic. So, like I was just saying, we'll pick back up tomorrow where we left off, and we will actually start calling functions, and then we'll look into that big note block we left as a to-do of how does Anthropic handle attaching multiple tools and potentially like chained tool calls. So we'll pick that back up. Few kind of like closing notes. If you wanted to follow me, we are broadcasting all over the place. I am Hey TJ Miller on Twitter. I am at Not TJ Miller on YouTube. I'm the TJ Miller on Twitch, and then also my good friends over at PHP Architect. They are most places at PHP Arch. They have been super kind and co-hosting the stream as we work on Sparkle, and they just recently opened up the call for presenters for their PHP Tech Conference. So if you have some talk ideas, definitely recommend going over there and submitting. I'm a big fan of the conference. I spoke at it this past year, and I can almost guarantee that I will be back at it this year, hopefully speaking, maybe not. We'll see how things end up. And again, if you are so inclined, I do have a GitHub sponsors. My GitHub username is 6live. I'd love and appreciate anything you throw that way. And yeah, tomorrow we'll pick it back up and we'll have some fun. So thank you everybody for joining this stream today. Really appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you tomorrow.